There you go. WYGR 94.9 FM, and this is Robert S. On the pulse of the city, Grand Rapids, Michigan, we do have Christina Elmore here. Judge Elmore, welcome to the pulse of the city.
Thank you, Robert. Hey, Grand Rapids.
Well, it's good to have you here at the pulse of the city. You actually went to Ottawa Hills High School.
I did.
Wow.
I'm an Indian.
Do you get a chance to go back as an alumni to let the rest of the young people there know what they really can do coming from Ottawa Hills?
Well, I would love to do that, and I have been there, but I would like to go back.
You like to go
to the kids? Yes.
Okay. When you left high school, why did you go into the Air Force? You did go into the Air Force, right?
I did. I went into the Air Force, but I didn't go to the Air Force until after law school. Which probably makes less sense to a lot of people because I had a law degree and then went into the military.
Did you finish? And shout out to University of Michigan. They gave us a big weekend, Grand Rapids, Michigan. They gave us a big weekend. They're in the finals.
Yes.
So did you graduate from the University of Michigan also before you went to the Air Force? Or was
yes, I graduated from Ottawa and went to University of Michigan, and then I worked for a little while, and then went to law school, and then went into the Air Force.
Okay, so why, after getting your degree in law, finishing at University of Michigan, which is temporarily my favorite Michigan college, see, green or blue, I go with whoever's winning. So University of Michigan, why would you go to the Air Force after you got your law degree?
Well, there were a couple of reasons. One was the way that the Air Force was at the time. They had a lot of different legal areas that you would work in, so it kind of had a wide range of law that you could practice in the Air Force. But another reason is just to serve the country. I enjoy serving, and that was an opportunity to serve and maybe see some other parts of the country and also learn about the law at the same time.
So you actually worked for a judge while you were in the Air Force? They have judges in the Army like that?
I was a judge advocate general, but no,
okay.
What they do is they have a staff judge advocate, and that person is the lawyer for the base legal commander, the base commander.
Okay.
And then you work in that office, and then you do courts martial, or you do disciplinary actions, advise commanders about that. There's lots of different areas. You do environmental law, there's claims, there's legal assistance. I provide legal assistance and advice to military members, do wills and all kinds of things. There's lots of different things that military attorneys do.
Wow. So before you get appointed here in 2016, you got appointed to the 61st District Court. But before we get to that, I want to bring you back from the Air Force. What do you start doing professionally when you come back to Grand Rapids that leads up to this appointment on the 61st District Court?
Okay, so after I was in the Air Force, I was in the reserves for a while, and then I got a job at the Kent County Prosecutor's Office, and then 6 weeks after starting there, the Attorney General's Office offered me a job. Okay. So then I worked for the Attorney General's Office for a few years, but then I found myself newly single at the time, and I had to travel a lot for the Attorney General's Office for my position there throughout the state. So I decided to start my own practice. And when I started it here in Grand Rapids, even though I was living in East Lansing at the time. And I did that. That was 10 years ago, when I did that. So, yeah, so I started doing that, and I did a lot of the court-appointed work because, again, I like to serve. So I had a lot of court-appointed clients for felonies, for misdemeanors. I did child abuse and neglect cases, juvenile delinquents, and also people hired me to handle different legal issues as well. And I also was a special assistant attorney general, which meant I still prosecuted people while I had my own practice at the same time. So I would literally be sitting on one side of the courtroom and then move to the other, depending on which cases I had that day. So
wow. You're also known for helping families that will go to family court trying to maintain custody of their children. So you also did cases like that, or help families?
Right, with child abuse and neglect, because the courts or the CPS, they would be moving the court to take custody away from parents, and so I did help a lot of parents. But I also represented children in that court as well, and that's in the family court here in Grand Rapids. But yeah, so I did that as well. But trying to keep families together, but also representing children and their interests too.
Okay. So when you started hearing about there's this opening at the 61st District Court, when did you know you were a serious contender for that position, for that appointment?
Well, actually, I applied for an appointment before that. I applied for one appointment, I believe it was in February of 2016. No, it would be 2015 when one of the judges left to go work for the governor's office. I applied for his position and I got a letter like, oh, thanks, but no thanks. And then I applied again because another judge took his spot. And so I applied for an appointment in that seat. And then I found out that it was between me and one other person. And then that other person got it. And then a district court judge was retiring. And I was encouraged to apply for that appointment. And then I applied. And I'm like, if you apply, you're probably going to get it because you were pretty close last time. So, and I got it. It's really like a really deep process because you have to fill out this long application. It's like 30 pages long. And then you get interviewed by like 18 attorneys, and then you get interviewed by the governor's office, and then they decide whether or not to give you an appointment. So that's like a pretty strenuous
well,
process.
I tell you, many moons ago when I was just a little toddler, it was big news when Judge Logan became a district judge. It was big news. Then here we are, the whole new millennium, you're appointed as a 61st district judge. Why do you think it was so much? I mean, we were elated because we were one of the first radio stations, if not the, to be able to interview you and have you as a client while you were an attorney. So we definitely were ecstatic here, and our listeners who have listened to you on the air for years. But why do you think the community was so, they embraced that just so much as another breakthrough for the community when you were appointed to the 61st District Court?
Well, I'm glad to hear that people were happy about it. People don't come up to me that often and express that, so I appreciate you saying that. But I think that part of it is just the recognition that there's a need for diversity on the 61st District Court. I mean, obviously, Grand Rapids is made up of people of all different races and gender. You know, there's another difference, but all different races, and so diversity is important. So I think when Judge Logan left, I think people probably thought, wow, there's going to be this hole there, and it's not going to be filled with a person of color. And it wasn't, but there still is diversity on that bench. And so I think that's probably what people recognize that we need.
Okay.
There, so.
All right.
Yeah.
So being there about 2 years, and now you're ready to step up to the circuit court. Can you explain to our listeners what the difference between the 61st District Court and the circuit court will be?
Yes, 61st District Court, that's a court for the city of Grand Rapids, whereas circuit court is a court for the county, so Kent County. The difference is the types of cases that they handle from their start to finish. So now what I do is I do misdemeanors from start to finish, and then landlord-tenant, and also felony preliminary examinations to decide whether there's enough for someone to be held over for trial. So, and also civil cases, but only up to $25,000. Whereas circuit court, what they do, they make the decisions on who goes to prison versus who gets another chance on probation in the felony world. They also decide whether or not someone loses their children into the foster care system or gets another chance. They also decide who gets tried as an adult versus a juvenile. So, and their amount that they make decisions on civil cases is over $25,000. So that's kind of the differences of what the work is like. And currently, there's no racial diversity on that bench. There hasn't been an African American judge up there since 1980. Excuse me. A lot of people don't know that there was a black judge that was elected to that bench in 1967, which happens to be the year I was born. And he retired in 1980, and there has not been an African American judge since. There's never been an African American female judge. So there's a need for that. There's a need for diversity on the bench because a bulk of the cases have to do with people that look like me, but the judges don't. So I think it's just important.
Do you think that voters understand just how important it is to vote for our judges? Because they vote for the politicians, and I can say that that's very important that we do have our politicians out representing, but as politicians, it's almost like we're on this giant board, whether you're at the Senate, House of Representatives, county level, city, you got a whole lot of people that you got to get votes on and working with you and on your side to get something done. And we get some things done because there's some collaboration there. But I don't think voters understand how important it is when your son walks into a courtroom, or your daughter, or the situation, should a person 17 be tried as an adult or not. And sometimes it's just rubber stamped that you see so many 17-year-olds just, and some of them do need to be tried as an adult. I have to tell the truth. You know, crime is not a pretty thing to talk about. But I don't think people understand just how much power judges have, from the state level all the way to the Supreme Court. And a lot of times, if there's not something like the mayor's race or the governor's race or a presidential race to bring people out to vote, they don't think about coming out to vote for judges. And this, like you said, from landlord tenants to child custody cases to felonies to people going to people going to prison for the rest of their lives. I don't know a position that could be more important to go vote for. Do you think the public understands that? How important it is to have a judge, a fair judge, on these benches?
Right, and I mean, first of all, I like to say that it's very important to vote, period. I mean, you have a right to vote, you should vote. If you can vote, you should vote. And a lot of times you hear people say, well, my vote doesn't count, don't matter, you know, I voted this way and that person didn't win. But you have to vote. And people, when it's time to vote for a presidential election, people come out in droves. And it's true that that's important, but our local elections they impact our daily lives more so than the Senate, and not that that's any less important, but it's not any less important than local elections, or to vote in local elections. And first I wanted to say too that if you are 17 years old, criminally you are an adult, period. There's no question about it.
Right now.
The people that they're deciding about are 12-year-olds, okay?
Right,
14-year-olds.
That's right.
A 15-year-old does something stupid and it's like, oh, well, try him as an adult. Stuff like that's where the decision is made. But when you're 17, you're an adult, period. You can't vote, right. But you'll be tried as an adult.
We are
all the time.
We are working on that, though. We are working to try to get that age raised to 18. You are right.
Right. But I wanted to say too that it is important. People don't think about, well, it's important for me to vote for this judge or that judge until you walk into a courtroom and it's like, oh dang, I'm getting evicted. Oh, look, here's my judge. This judge is, crazy, or they're not listening to me, or I don't feel like I'm getting a fair shake. But they don't take the time to research who that judge is when it comes time to vote. So a lot of times, you get stuck with the judges that are there. If you don't vote, you really can't complain, or you go through a divorce. It's like, my divorce judge did this, or gave her everything, or took custody, or all of those things are important, and people go through very frequently, but they don't think about, like, wow, judge, or I'm getting sued, or they're garnishing my check, or it's all these different things that judges make decisions about that people really sleep on, and
wow.
Need to stay woke or get woke on that. So
from you joining the Air Force, from you getting your law degree, being an attorney, to running for judge, this may seem like an offbeat question, But it's very important, especially for my listeners, because as I try to motivate and help people, a lot of time people are afraid to try new things. People are afraid to step out of boxes that some have built for themselves, and other people have pushed them into boxes, telling them what they can or can't do. Where did you get the courage? Because as you step to run for district court, there's a lot of people that wouldn't do that. For circuit court, you've been on the district 2 years, and you're taking this giant step. And one of the reasons I know everything, I've been interviewing you for years, but also when I'm talking to people on the county, and you got a lot of support downtown, you got a lot of support from diverse support from different ages, different races. People respect you. They respect your work. They respect your integrity, your honesty, and you got a lot of support. But how did you get the courage to say, that's something I want to do. I'm going to go for it. I'm going to continue to put myself in a position to help people. But even getting into those positions isn't easy. And a lot of people are afraid to take those big steps. How did you get the courage?
Well, yeah, it's not easy. I'll admit that. And also, I get asked that a lot, like, why? You're already a judge. Why do you want to run? It's not any more money. It's more work. But I see it more as a calling. And I really feel that it's a calling on my life to do this, to make this difference, to be in this position where I can be fair, where I can make fair decisions, where I can help justice be handed out to the people in the county. Not just black people, white people
right.
too, Hispanic people, everybody. Everybody deserves justice. Everybody deserves to have their rights protected. And I just feel a calling to be in that position. And I think I know a lot of my life I've moved out and made moves on faith, just based on having faith that this is what I'm supposed to do, so I'm going to take these steps to make it happen, and trusting that if I'm listening to what I'm actually being called to do, that it will happen for me. And that way, again, I can serve other people with it. So I don't really know that.
Right.
I don't ever feel like, oh, I'm afraid, I don't want to do that, because I'm like, I'm called, I have to do it. I can't not do it. How dare I just sit down and say, well, I'm just going to keep my law degree and I'm going to make me some money and just sit over here in the corner, or I'm a judge now, so that's it. I don't feel that way. So,
well, your calling is a calling that's going to help a lot of people. I ask you a lot of questions. Is there anything else? Oh, I know one thing I want to ask. What are some of the ways that our listeners in the community that want to support you can get behind you and support you on your way? Because, there's a lot of stuff got to be done before Election Day. Of course, they got to come out and vote for you.
right.
But we know we got to bring people to the polls. But any other way, what things can this community do to help support?
Well, right now I'm still trying to get signatures, so if people have petitions out there, if they can continue to gather signatures, if people can sign the petition, that would help me get on the ballot. Then once I am on the ballot, people can help I need to get my name out, so talking about it to other people, talking about the importance of voting. Even if you don't want to vote for me or you don't like what I'm saying, just talk to people about voting and about the importance of this election. There's going to be 2 open seats on the circuit court. The judges that are leaving have been there for 30 years, and they've never, they've been there for 30 years. That's a long time for one person to sit in one spot. But just getting my name out is important. Also, there'll be opportunities to volunteer. I have a Facebook page, Judge Christina Elmore. You can find me there, Facebook, Twitter. I have Snapchat, I think, too.
All right.
And Instagram. So I'm very accessible. I do respond to messages if people want to get more information, or if they want to have their name added to a list. And then events that I have for the campaign will be posted on those on Facebook.
How do you feel when you see young people out there on Facebook supporting you, where I've never seen some of these young people involved in a judge's race, but you inspired a lot of young people to get out here that want to see you on that bench too. How do you feel when you see them getting involved politically like
I
that?
think that's awesome, and I don't think of myself as a politician, but I guess I'm running for office, so by definition, that's probably what I am. But I think it's awesome. I think it's important for them to understand the importance, and that their voices, they need to have their voices be heard by voting, by talking about these issues, by learning about the candidates and about politics and about the different seats that are open. So I think it's awesome. I hope it keeps going on an upswing.
All right. Well, you got 30 seconds to talk directly to my listeners and give them your last message.
I just want to say again, thank you, Grand Rapids. Thank you for the support that I've gotten so far. I love this community. I love being a part of it. And go Blue for the finals.
All right, Grand Rapids, Michigan. This has been another episode of the Pulse of the City. Judge Christina Elmore is running for circuit judge, and she is gathering petitions. Of course, here at 94.9 FM, we've got to put it out there that all candidates will receive equal time if they get in contact with us at 94.9 FM. Christine has supported the Pulse of the City for many, many, many years, and we're very proud of her. Thank you, Christina.
Thank you, Robert.
Elmore, Judge Elmore, I got to get used to that. She's now a judge and I'm a commissioner. Wow.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see where your career goes next, so I wish you good luck and thanks for being a part of the show.
Thank you.
All right, Grand Rapids, Michigan, I got to say goodbye, but everybody's putting likes out there and saying hello to you and supporting you here on Facebook Live.
That's awesome. I need all that.
All right, Grand Rapids, Michigan, I'm out. Peace.